Thanks for joining us at the table. I'm Fiona and I'm joined by Melody, Beck, who's our special guest. Thank you for being here with us. And also Mary Ellen and Shona. Shona, the showstopper. I haven't seen you ladies for ages, so I feel like it's been a while.
It has been a while.
I missed you all. Oh. But we'll find out more about Beck later in the show. But first up, what we're going to be talking about this week is, can your marriage survive an affair? So stay tuned for that. We'll also be chatting more with Beck and finding out more about what she does as a minister's wife. And first up, it's quick topics. So I know you don't know what these topics are, ladies, but let's just have some fun with it, as we always do. Now, the first topic is, do you still use DVDs?
Oh, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
My family has a huge cupboard filled with about 500 DVDs, and I'm kind of thinking, what are we going to do with all these? So it gets difficult trying to transfer.
They make really good coasters.
Oh, wow.
So obviously you don't use the DVDs anymore?
No, I'm a Netflix girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've got Netflix and Stan at home, but I'm actually finding myself putting a DVD on for my daughter rather than putting on YouTube or Netflix or Stan, because it's very easy to get off a particular show and onto something that I don't want her to watch.
I'm in the same position with you because we're always at the library and they have some great cartoons and kids programs for the kids that we can borrow. So I think we've got Yo Gabba Gabba at the moment. Yes. That's in the DVD player at the moment. How about you?
My problem is that my TV doesn't work and my computer doesn't have a DVD player, so...
Technologically challenged, to say the least.
OK, so the next topic is, do you drink diet drinks?
No.
No?
No.
Everyone's at full strength?
Yep.
You're
going to drink it? Drink it.
The problem with diet, especially soft drinks, is they've got those artificial sweeteners and they're even worse for you than sugar, in my opinion.
Did you ever drink? Anyone ever drink diet?
No.
I think it tastes different.
It does. It's just not as enjoyable and it's worse for you. I'm like, why would you?
I drink it because it's there, but I don't specifically go for it.
I know people with diabetes think that it's better for them, but it's actually not.
No, it's not.
It's not. No. So I think you should do your research on that. Yeah. OK, last topic. What would have to change for you to stop wearing clothes that were made by slaves?
Stop wearing clothes.
Oh,
stop. No, don't. Stop wearing clothes.
Which like kids are we going? But what do you mean? Mum's already stopped wearing clothes around the house.
OK, that's a different topic.
So you're talking about ethical clothing, essentially?
Yeah, ethical clothing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of clothes are made in sweatshops, and so what would it take for you personally to stop buying, I guess?
I think, more awareness around the issue, because there are documentaries, but people just don't watch them, and so, kind of holding the brands more accountable, but also they're very expensive, and personally as a student, I can't afford them, but I guess it's different for you ladies. You know.
And they've brought out that guide that you can actually pick and choose, and I think when that came out, that really made us aware as to which shops to go into and which to avoid now.
I think in season 1 we had
the Baptist guide.
And awesome. What I was going to say is, the perception that it's expensive, but actually it isn't. I mean, you go H&M, street brands are actually quite ethical as well. But by default, I don't, because I just don't go shopping anymore.
I think you should definitely check out that ethical, I think it's an ethical fashion guide. You can download it from Baptist Baptist World Aid. Get it together, girl. Anyway, next we're going to be talking about an article that was in the Sydney Morning Herald, which talked about research that was done with grandparents. It says 1,000 grandparents were surveyed and 81% of those grandparents said that they were concerned about their grandchildren, saying that the parenting techniques of today, being the praise and reward system, is failing them. In fact, they think that their grandchildren will be less resilient and less capable. Ladies, what do you think about this?
This absolutely annoyed me. When I read this, and this article was in the Sydney Morning Herald, and I actually missed it. I don't know why I didn't get to see it when it was published, but I read it and I thought, this is a joke. They have made an article based on a survey sample of only 1,000 grandparents. How can you get a true, I guess, reflection as to what the general or average opinion is out there of grandparents and how they're bringing up their kids?
Do you think that grandparents know best?
I think that they have got some amazing insight and some amazing wisdom that can contribute to us raising our kids in a wonderful way. But they don't always have the answers. Parent knows best, in actual fact.
And that's the thing. I think every generation thinks that they know what is best. I think if you surveyed 1,000 parents as well, you'd think that they would say that their grandparents did or their parents did a bad job, sort of thing. So, yeah, I don't know.
Isn't it a common catch cry for us? Like, you know, oh, the new generation these days, like, you know, that's what everyone things that the next generation
Yeah, but hold on a minute. We've always said on here that it takes a community to raise a family, to raise a child. Yeah. So surely we need the insights from our parents and our grandparents and even our great-grandparents if they're around, because, you know, I've got insights on how to bring up my children that I'm hoping to pass on to my grandchildren when I get them. Oh, well...
Some cooking techniques?
Yeah, cooking, yeah. But even things like, you know, putting your child in the corner rather than to discipline them. They've got to learn manners and morals. I mean, they're now sending kids out to learn etiquette. And I'm thinking, come on, are we that far removed?
Yes, we are. Because of technology, I think that kids these days, generally speaking...
So you weren't raised with manners and...
No, what I'm saying is nobody knows how to read empathy because we're reading a screen. So if I can at home instill that, and if my parents can instill that to my children, then why not?
That's right. I agree, because my mum's just been staying with us for about 3 weeks. She lives overseas, and just in that short 3 weeks, right, she's taught my son so many things.
That's right.
That I would not have even thought that, oh, he's old enough to do that.
Mel, were you raised with your grandparents? You spent a lot of time with your grandparents. Is there things that you've learnt from them that you could apply to raising Elliot, your son?
Well, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. And, yeah, just now looking with what my mum is doing, right, she's really patient, really loving. And she expects things of him that I would not have expected at that age. And I think that's the thing. You just push the kid to... just strive that little bit more.
Just the pleases and the thank yous and manners, and you need to sit and eat your food. You can't wander around and eat, all that sort of stuff.
Going back to the basics, I think we definitely, as parents, and I guess there's things that we can learn from both sides, grandparents and parenting techniques. But I think grandparents do a great job in helping families where they can. But look, now it's time to get out and about with Rach, who's checking out water slide play. Let's check this out.
Well, the weather is warming up, which is fantastic, but the kids are getting cabin fever. Forget the pool, and you can't always get to the beach. Why not get out and about in your own backyard? Girls, let's go outside. I've got a great idea. With just a bit of preparation, you can make your own slip and slide. You can get builder's plastic from hardware suppliers for just a few dollars per metre. Cut it to size, but leave room to roll over the edges a bit so you can knock some tent pegs in, and that will keep your slide in place. Then all you need is some dishwashing detergent and water, and voila, let the fun begin. Running under the sprinkler is a timeless Aussie classic. And who can resist a game of chases with the water pistols? Not me.
Cool.
That was cute.
It's just the simple things in life, you know. Just
that's how I grew up. We had the tarpaulin out there, but we would use dishwashing liquid. Same. Yeah, look. Now we're going to be talking about something. Well, this topic may raise a few eyebrows. It may not. The gap between having children. What do you think is the best gap between having children? Shona, what's the age gap between your kids?
I have 10 years between my eldest and my middle child, and then I have 17 months between the next two.
So you can actually tell which one is better, longer or shorter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Big pause.
Look, there's pros and cons. I think having your children young is good because you have the energy.
You mean the time? So what? Start
20s, in your 20s, I think, because my first one was in my 20s. I think that was a good age for me. In my 30s, I was a bit more patient, but I was tireder. But the 17 months is very close. We treated them like twins because they were very similar in size and age. But, you know, I think it's whatever God gives you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amen to that, because I think there's so many people that are struggling to have children. So if you can have children, you're blessed. If you can't have children, you're blessed because you can be the mother of everyone's children.
That's right.
We need more of them too.
Yeah. I just met a lady actually this week who has 8 years between her eldest and her second child, and she lost 4 babies in that time. And I said to her, hey, listen, be reassured that actually there's about 5.5, actually more than 5.5 years between my sister and I, and we are best of friends. Like, despite... There you go.
'Cause I know your sister, and I would not have guessed that.
There you go. And a lot of people have no idea about that. So I think when it comes to age, it is different for every single family, and the dynamics between the children, it's different between each
What about
child.
you, Mary Ellen? Were you what's the gap between you and
me
your
and
siblings?
the middle child, so Rosanna, it's 19 months, and between Rosanna and Olivia, it's 23 months. So we're all pretty close.
Pretty close.
And yeah, that was always fun growing up. You know, sharing clothes and just little things like that, and having everything in common. It's great.
That's your opinion. What do your sisters think?
Yeah, to be honest, I borrow more of their clothes than I let them borrow mine.
What about you, Mel?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking it from the mother point of view, right? Like, you know, when your kids are really close in age together, how tiring would that be? When they're... And then it's like, you know, when there's a big age gap. My younger brother's 7 years younger than I am. It's like, well, can the older one then look after the younger one, give mum...
Did you help out with... No. Right.
But it's also that whole fact of, you know, the 5-year gap. You're out of nappies, they're at school, and then you start again.
Trying to...
I don't know that I could have coped with that.
Yeah, I think one size does not fit all.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to be talking about the best advice to give. What is the best advice? No advice, apparently, is what Huffington Post article recently said. Mary Ellen, tell us a bit about this
Yes, this article, the title was The Best Advice is to Give No Advice at All. It's kind of a bit counterintuitive. It talked about active listening and the importance of, you know, having a D&M with someone, just being able to really be present and listen properly, because we've sort of lost that skill in our technologically fueled, distracted age. And it really resonated with me. Just the ability to actively listen. I don't know, I don't think I necessarily have that. Would you say...
Well, I guess if you're in situations where you're talking with your girlfriends, they're venting, confiding in you, do you take the opportunity to put on your Dr. Phil hat and
solve their problems?
And solve their problems?
Yeah, but they said that's
listen?
not an effective listener. An effective listener is someone who reflects it back to you. So if you're saying the same thing back to them, so they can hear it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's not putting on the Dr. Phil and going, oh, well, you know, I think.
It's actually a counselling technique as well, this listening thing, and getting people to actually reflect on what they say. So it's basically, you know, this is what you mean. And they come up with their own... The best thing is because they come up with their own solutions and they own it.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think people just want to hear someone else say what they already know?
Some do.
Depending on the situation.
Absolutely. There are times that I know of girlfriends who just need to talk it out.
Yeah.
And then they need to talk it out to get it right in their mind.
Yeah.
But then, while they're talking it out, are actually looking for some input into what they're actually needing to solve, what solution that they've got.
You know what I find really interesting? I sort of took more of a spiritual twist on this, and I was looking through the Bible and all the times that biblical figures have a one-on-one conversation with God. And every time, without fail, God, rather than telling them what to do or telling them who he is or just giving them an answer, he says, well, what do you think? Sort of reflects it back on them. And I think it's so powerful because it really does make you reevaluate where you stand on something.
That's what I was going to say. Prayer for me is like effective listening, because you're actually having to verbalise it to God so you can hear what you're saying and you get the answer back.
There's also the other one where it's be still and know that I'm God.
Awesome.
And that has worked a lot for me. Like, you know, that's when you're fretting and going like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then when you actually be still, the answer comes to you.
Can I just share with you, there's a verse in the Bible, Ephesians 4:29, and it says, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. And I think that's a nice reminder that when we are in situations to be able to give our advice, give positive advice.
Absolutely.
Right?
And don't try and one-up someone when they say, oh, you know, I just lost my mum. Yeah, well, I lost both my parents last year, you know.
Absolutely.
Not everybody needs you to be on the same page. Sometimes let someone mourn, let someone have the spotlight for once, right? Yeah, very interesting. I'd love to know what you have to say about, you know, giving advice. What's your best advice? We'd love to hear on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram or YouTube. But now it's time to check out Gia and Olive, who are making some salad dressing. This should be good. Let's check this out.
I'm about to share a really good recipe for dressing that you can just put in your fridge and keep for a while. This dressing is oil-free. I personally don't love using oil or like using oil for my food. I use it if I have to, but this is a good way to substitute that. And sometimes you go to the shops and you find those packets of dressing, and on the back you don't even know half the stuff that's on there. There's like numbers like 251 preservative, I don't know. Anyway, so let's do this. What's your favourite? Raisins. Raisins. So do you want to pass the raisins first? Okay. Did you want to get one before I put it in there? Quick, quick, quick. It's going once, going twice. Gone. Okay, so it's half a cup of raisins, 1/4 cup of walnuts. Do you want a walnut? Or do you want to put it in here for me? Here. There you go. 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar. Okay, all right, you can do it. Thank you, you're such a good helper. And a garlic clove, which I'm going to throw in there. And what have we got there? Dijon mustard. It's only a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Okay, you hold it for me. There we go. And you also need water. So this is half a cup of water, but I actually put more water as I go, depending on how you want it. Oh, there you go. Depending on how runny you want your dressing to be. So this is going to be noisy. Done. Okay, there you have it. Your healthy dressing. And I just pour it in any jar that you have. Place a lid on it and put it in your fridge. And you can use it. People that have had this actually always comment, hey, how delicious is that dressing? Where did you get it from? And you know what? It's homemade and you know what's in it, right? High five.
Now, you may have noticed we've had a special guest on the show today. Her name is Beck Reed. She's a minister's wife, a mother of one, and she works in real estate. And she's awesome because she's been here and is doing an awesome job. Beck, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Look, I want to go personal because I know the ladies will hit you up with the real estate and juggling and all that, but I wanted to know, how did you meet your husband?
Great question.
Who's a minister?
Okay, so we actually met at a church conference, which was actually held in Fiji.
Right.
So that's going back a while ago now.
And was he a minister at the time?
Yes, he was. He actually... I think just before that he was actually in a volunteer position, but he was actually going into like the corporate head office, I guess, for Queensland. So like a youth minister.
Right.
What is it like to be a minister's wife?
Great question. The reality is every minister's wife has a different experience. So what my experience is could be quite different to someone who is down the road at another church. So I think at the end of the day, the dynamics in our household is that it can be tough because, you know, he is out almost every night of the week and Saturday is sometimes a write-off because we don't get to see him all that much because he's so highly involved in church and in meetings and everything like that. So there is definitely an awareness to being proactive with our time and strategic with our time so that we are spending quality time together as a family at particular times in the week.
Well, it's interesting you say that because you're also a professional, you know, businesswoman. So how do you balance looking after the flock or looking after the church members in support of your husband, as well as running your own business?
And looking after a small child.
Yeah, a toddler. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, exactly. It's all about life management. I believe in life management, not necessarily time management. Time management comes into life management, but every factor and every part of our life needs to be an open conversation in our household because we all need to be on the same page if we're doing
You would
things.
need as much support as he does.
100%, 100%. And now I'm only working a few days a week, but I have my mum looking after my daughter because she's not at preschool as yet, and he actually looks after her 1 day a week as well, which is awesome for their relationship, especially if he's not as, you know, I guess, especially if he's not at home during dinner times and all of that type of thing.
I like how you say that because it means that it's okay to get help.
Absolutely.
So many of us women are just like,
we're too afraid to say
100%.
we can't cope or we can't balance all of these things.
And there's no such thing. I really don't like this whole, oh, you can have it all sort of saying. It doesn't rub me quite well. the reality is that you mentioned it before, it really does take a community to raise a child, or it takes a village, as the saying goes, or the proverb. And there are multiple people who do contribute to raising our daughter, and I love that. I love that.
What's the spiritual side like in your household? I mean, I know you're a minister's wife, so people think it's automatic, but hang on, you're doing life.
No, it's not automatic. It's a choice. Every single day is a choice to get up and go, you know what? Today I'm marinating my daughter in Jesus.
Amen.
So, you know, it comes down to family time. Now, whether or not he's there in the morning or not, a non-negotiable is Bible study in the morning and family prayer. So family prayer can be me and my 3-year-old. Yeah. You know, or if she's off playing and for some reason she is not listening, because that often happens in 3-year-olds, I make the conscious decision to do it in front of her. And so she can see, okay, well, that is what we do in this household. It's intentional. It's intentional. Yeah.
Are there any strategies that you're planning to put in place? Because, you know, there is that perception that pastors' kids are going to be particularly rebellious or that kind of stuff. What strategies do you have?
Well, I'm not letting that language come into my household. So from the viewpoint that I'm already speaking over her, saying, you are a leader of your generation, I value you, you're a part of this family, and we're so grateful for God for bringing you into our world. And the fact that, yes, there is this misnomer, it's not a misnomer, but there is sort of an awareness of children being pastors' kids and they're being, whether they be naughty or ratty or whatever, the fact is that it's just that the attention is on them.
Can you just say that first bit again that you said that you say over her? Because that was really powerful.
So I say to her, you are a leader for your generation. You're going to influence your friends and you're going to influence communities around you.
See, you're blessing your child in speech.
Because I really believe in having the right language in our home. And I'm not going to say, oh, you're a pastor's kid, so you need to behave. None of that. You are a leader in your generation. You are going to influence your friends and also your family, whether it be at school or at preschool or wherever. But I'm intentionally getting her to start thinking about, hey, who can we pray for in... We go to a ministry called Happy Hands at the moment, which is a community art thing that we have at our church, and there's people from the community that are coming in, and there are non-Adventists and non-church people who come, and we pray for those kids. So I want her to start thinking of that.
That's so awesome. I guess I have a bit of a different question. Are you a feminist? Because I know in your household, Richie, your husband, is probably not home a lot of the time, and so you probably don't have the traditional kind of you know, man is the head of the household. So what is your stance towards that?
Okay, I want to separate that from... So that's a really great question, but I want to separate the term feminist, because I think feminism is actually different for all of us. And everyone who's watching, I think, has a different idea as to what a feminist is. In terms of... am I okay with the fact that I'm the one who's mowing the lawn, and that I'm okay with the fact that I'm doing the gardening and pulling the rubbish in and out, and if he's not around to do it, I'm totally okay with roles in the household. And I'm totally okay if he ends up, you know, taking her to school every day, you know, or cooks her dinner. He's the brilliant cook, and he cooked dinner last night.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm okay with that. I don't need to have those traditional roles that's your label and that's your label and they're your roles.
Before we move on to our next topic, Beck, I just want to ask 2 things you can't live without. On the spot.
Okay. An internet connection? No. No, that is actually really important, because I think that you can have... you can have a Bible. My Bible. Yeah. My Bible. I was going to say reading, listening... all of that you can do with an internet connection, but you can do that with a Bible. And anyway,
One more?
I love food. Healthy food.
How are you going to survive? Eat, read your Bible?
I love good food.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Beck, for sharing that with us. Now, I hope you stick with us for the next part of our conversation, which I'm sure you'll be able to share some insight on. It's about... can your marriage survive an affair? An article in the Sydney Morning Herald titled "Cheating Won't Fix Your Marriage" talks about infidelity. It talks about apparently 25 to 75% of people in relationships may step out. Now, I'm just going to put it out there. We're not relationship experts. We're merely some women having a chat. So please, if you're feeling some type of way, talk to someone who's qualified, professional, or reach out to Lifeline. So, yeah, on that note, ladies, can your marriage survive an affair? And I'm looking at Shona.
Look, I've never been put in that situation, and I pray that I never have to. My husband loves me dearly and I love him dearly. I would hope that I'm a good enough Christian that I would be able to forgive him. I don't know that I could forget, because trust is a really big thing for me. It would be the biggest part of my marriage is the trust.
Melody?
I don't think my marriage would survive. I love my husband to bits, but yeah, the same thing. Like that trust bit, yeah.
Yeah. I think for me personally, I think once you, the human in me says, once you step out, stay out, or I'll knock you out, or I'll put you out, or something. But then the Christian in me says, I need to forgive, isn't it? To death do us part, you know, for better or for worse.
70 times 7.
But it's the question of trust, it's betrayal, it's all those things.
I can forgive him, maybe. I can forgive him, but I don't think I want to be with him.
No, I'd hound my husband to death. It's not. It would be too toxic for us to stay together. And prayer, we'd be praying till the days of, you know. So I don't know. No, I don't think.
I have a question though. Define affair, because I think in the article it mentioned that affair isn't, you know, it's not necessarily just that your husband goes and sleeps with another woman. It can also be pornography. It can also be
sexting,
all kinds of things, right?
Messaging on, or even being their friend.
What does
on
God
Facebook?
say? Even if you think about it, it's lust.
Yes.
Yeah. So is that also a deal breaker? I'm guessing no, but where do you draw the line, you know?
Beck, as a minister's wife, I'm sure you've had incidences where you've had to...
Yeah, and look, I think until we go through that situation, I truly don't think that we would ever know. I've got friends and family members who have gone down that track where either they have cheated or their partner has cheated, and I've seen people who have survived and it's been tough, but I've seen others that it was
a breaker.
Deal breaker, complete.
Yeah, I can relate, because I've got some people that I know that also went through infidelity in their marriage and stuck through it and put up with whatever it was that they had to, and they said they've come out stronger.
Right.
They've said that they love each other even more. I think props to you if you can do that. You're a very strong woman and man who can do that. But again, personally, no, I'm not that strong enough. No, I'll be locked up.
I think I'd stalk my husband too much. You know, the whole, you know, are you still in touch with her? Are you? You've
got to ask yourself, if you don't think you would do this in front of your partner, that should raise alarm bells. Or if you would, you know, put yourself in their position.
In any way, shape or form. It almost reminds me of the topic we talked about 2 weeks ago, and check that out if you're watching, about putting your marriage first or your kids first, and what do you prioritise? I think this is a perfect example of prioritising potentially your kids over your marriage and the consequences of that. And I think it can be so damaging. Not to say that you shouldn't prioritise your kids, but it's just, it's difficult.
Yeah, this article, in the article, the Sydney Morning Herald article that we're talking about, the relationship expert, Peril, she states that if you could bring into the relationship 1/10 of the boldness and the imagination and the verve that you did to have an affair, you wouldn't be seeing a counsellor.
Exactly.
On that note, so heavy, sorry, but it is what it is. I hope that you pray before you stray. And but girls, thank you so much for the chat. Thank you so much, Beck, for hanging out.
Thank you.
Hope you have an awesome week. Until next time, God bless.